If you want to grow more food in less space and turn even a small patch of bare ground into something that starts feeding you year round with almost no maintenance, it has got nothing to do with your soil or your climate or how much space you have. Most edible gardens are made up of single plants. Maybe you plant a couple of fruit trees over there, a vegetable garden here, but it never quite comes together into a system. And we end up with a garden that requires more work and never quite looks the way that we dreamed it would. So in this video, I'll show you exactly what I planted in 25 square meters, how those plants work together as one food producing system that only needs 15 minutes of work per week, and it keeps getting better every single year. This patch of land right here wasn't always like this. Just a few months before we planted anything, this was completely overgrown with 2-meter high ferns, brambles and invasive ginger. So I cleared everything with a brush cutter. But then I did something that seems maybe a little bit counterintuitive, is that I let it all grow back on purpose. Because once the brambles and weeds reshoot from the roots, you can see exactly where every root system is. And that makes them much easier to pull out cleanly. So once it came back short, we went through every square meter by hand with a garden fork and pulled out as much of the root systems as we could. Definitely not the most pleasant work, but the idea is simple. The more weeds and roots you remove before you plant, the less you deal with once the system is growing. And as you will see, it made a big difference. Let me take you back to February. It was a decent sunny day and we spent the first few hours finishing the soil prep. Pulling out the last of the roots, removing rocks, clearing out all the organic debris. Bits of bramble, leaves, branches, everything that was left from the clearing rounds we had done before. And once all of that was out, I raked the whole area flat, nice and even. Then I installed a rock border with local stone from the island. This was totally optional, but it gave the guild a clean edge and it looks pretty good. And honestly, once the soil was prepped and the border was in, it felt great because now we could finally start planting. All the plants we used were quite small, seedlings that we had grown from seed or from cuttings, still in recycled pots. Nothing impressive to look at yet. I also grabbed some yacon from our existing food forest and broke up the roots and planted them straight into the new guild. And this is what it looked like. A small patch of red clay soil, freshly worked with 70 tiny plants going in one by one. And this is what it looks like today. The soil is now completely covered. You can barely see a single patch of bare ground anymore. It's all been taken over by plants. The dwarf mulberry is putting on a new growth. The artichokes are massive and ready to be harvested. The tree tomato is already taller than I expected at this stage. The leucaena and the tree lucernes, our nitrogen fixers, are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, growing fast and creating a beneficial microclimate. In the lower layers, the comfrey, the yacon, pineapple sage, perennial onions and garlic are all well established. The parsley has gone to seed, which we left on purpose as it will self-seed and fill in more gaps over time. We already had a couple of cauliflowers ready to harvest, though we let them go to seed as well. Right now we can harvest quite a few herbs, edible flowers and artichokes, and in a couple of months we will have yacons, pumpkins, more annuals and early perennials coming through. And this is only 120 days in. 25 square meters, 70 plants, and the system is already working. What is even better is that this young system doesn't take a lot of work to maintain, and we'll get into exactly what those 120 days actually required in a moment, but first let me show you the logic behind what we planted, but more importantly, why these specific plants work so well together. Now, I'll say up front, some of these plants you've probably never heard of. I hadn't either before moving here. I grew up in a much colder climate and most of what's growing in this guild simply didn't exist in my world back then. So don't worry if the names of the plants mean nothing to you, because your food forest system will look completely different depending on where you live. The logic of the plants is what matters, not the specific plants themselves. And by the way, if you want to turn your land into a productive, low maintenance food forest, one doable section at a time, I'm running a workshop that walks you step by step through the entire process. And the link to join the waitlist is below and it's free to sign up. In the center of the guild we have a white sapodi. That is our main tree. It's the anchor of the whole guild. And honestly, this one is entirely experimental. I have no idea yet whether it will thrive here or not. But that's also part of the process. You plant, you observe, and you learn. Everything else was planted in relation to the tree. Now, unfortunately, our neighbor's cow escaped through the fence at some point and came straight through this guild and trampled the white sapodi pretty badly. It's not that, but it got set back considerably, and we'll see what happens and how it goes. We might need to replace it with a different tree, so it's not ideal, but on the bright side, she did leave us a very generous, smelly gift on her way out. On the southern side of the guild, where we get most sun, we planted a tamarillo tree and a dwarf mulberry. Both will produce great in this sunnier position. On the northern side, where it will naturally be a bit more shaded, we planted a coffee bush and a Suriname cherry. Both are a little bit more shade tolerant and perfectly happy in that position. Now, those 4 shrubs and the main tree are purely productive species. They give us fruit, but they need quite a bit of fertility to actually produce well. And well, since I don't want to keep coming here and providing that myself, like hauling in compost or buying in mulch, we need plants that do that job for us. And that is exactly why we also planted support species. In this guild I planted 2 tree lucernes and 2 leucaenas, which are both nitrogen fixing trees that feed the soil and support everything growing around them. And then scattered throughout this entire guild there are about 10 sesbania trees, which are small, fast growing nitrogen fixers that are only here short term. They build the soil, they create a bit of a microclimate for the young plants, and then over time we chop them down and drop everything right on the soil. Free mulch, free fertility, exactly where we need it. Then below all of that we have what I call the lower layers, and this is honestly where it gets really interesting. Here we have everything from aromatic herbs like marjoram, thyme and pineapple sage, to perennial vegetables like artichokes, perennial onions and garlic, and edible flowers, root crops and small fruits. These are all planted in between everything else, filling in all the gaps. And look what's already happening here. The calendula has been flowering since day one, same with the borage. The chamomile flowers are out, the comfrey is flowering, and the pineapple sage, this plant really grew so fast I still can't quite believe it. It's already showing its first flowers at 120 days old. It was only a small tiny cutting that we took from our most beautiful plant in our more established food forest. Right now we can harvest all sorts of different herbs. The artichokes are ready. So while the trees are still establishing, while the mulberry, the white sapodi, the coffee and the others are still small, these lower layers are already producing different kinds of herbs, root crops and annuals. The system is already working, even at 120 days old. And what I find most beautiful about this right now, standing here, is seeing all these different plants, all these different flowers, all growing together. There's no single plant doing everything alone. We have a small self-sustaining system, and one that will keep changing as it matures. The harvest from a young food forest guild like this looks completely different to what this place will produce 3 or 5 years from now. And that's kind of the whole point. We plant short-lived and long-lived species together in the right locations so that we get food now, but also 100 years from now, when I'll be 135 years old. But by that time, all I have to do is come here and harvest food. Now, looking at all of this, it's easy to assume there must be a lot of work going on behind the scenes. And the truth is surprisingly simple. In total, we only watered this guild manually 3 times. Once at planting and twice in the weeks after. And then nothing. We had enough rain, and because we planted quite densely and use a thick layer of wood chip mulch, the system takes care of itself. Now, if you're in a warmer or drier climate, like where I used to live before moving here, a simple drip system would make a big difference. But here, 3 waterings was all it took. And the weeding, well, I've only done it once a couple of weeks ago, and I actually need to do a little bit right now because a few bramble shoots and ferns have come back through, which you know, is completely normal when you haven't got every single root out. And that's really it. That's the maintenance that this guild has needed in 120 days. Now compare that to the area around it, just outside of this border. I've had to mow this area at least once every 2 weeks since we planted this guild. The grass keeps on growing, it keeps coming back, it needs constant attention. And inside this guild, almost nothing. The plants cover the ground, they shade out the weeds, the system manages itself. Barely 15 minutes of work a week inside and food at will, and mowing every 2 weeks outside, and the satisfaction of a job that needs doing again next week. Same piece of land, completely different outcome. Now there was one thing that caught me a little bit off guard in the early weeks. About a week after planting, I started noticing damage on some of the support species. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that, but the tips of some of our support species were being eaten or they were broken. And I'm pretty sure that it was birds, though I can't say that for certain. And one of the tree lucerne, like this one, got hammered so badly that it was eventually reduced to just a little stick in the ground with no leaves. I had to actually replace it with a new one from our nursery. But then something interesting happened. As the ferns started coming back, the same ferns that we had been clearing before, I left them to grow. And what happened was that they started sheltering the young plants, growing around them, creating a bit of cover. And the moment the ferns grew taller than the support species, just like that, the damage stopped. And it's funny because that is exactly what the support species are now doing for the producing trees. The ferns basically happened by accident, and we use those lessons so that we can design it on purpose. It's a good reminder that the system will solve its own problems if you give it a chance. And look, I would be doing you a disservice if I only showed you what worked. So we're 120 days into this food forest, and there are 2 things that I would do differently next time. The first one is small, but it's worth mentioning, and it's about these strawberries. I planted them scattered throughout the entire guild. The idea being that they would cover the ground between everything else, and well, they start doing that. They are growing, but the problem is everything around them is growing faster. The herbs, the comfrey, the other lower layer plants, like they're all outcompeting them for light. And strawberries, you know, they stay quite small as a plant. They need sun to produce good fruit. So inside a dense guild like this, they're kind of more functioning as a leafy ground cover rather than a fruit producing ground cover, if you know what I mean. So in my opinion, it's better not to include this plant inside the middle of the guild. And next time I would only plant it on the outside of the edges where they get more sun, where they're easy to reach, and where the fruits actually develop properly. Inside the guild I would use something that really wants to creep and crawl, like sweet potatoes, perennial spinach and nasturtiums, for example. Plants that spread relatively aggressively and cover the ground the way a ground cover is supposed to do. And you can see exactly how well that works in our 1-year-old food forest. The second thing, and this one is more about life than about gardening, is that I haven't planted another food forest guild since this one. We've done a lot of land clearing, a lot of maintenance across the entire property. We've already planned the next guild, and we are actually growing the plants for it right now from seeds and cuttings. But planting season is mostly behind us, and pushing it now would mean that we have to stay on top of it with watering, which is something I just don't have the time for right now. And you know what? In a way, that's fine. That's actually kind of the point of this approach. And I cover this exact method in more detail in our upcoming workshop, which you can sign up for below. But this one guild is in the ground. It is growing, it is already producing, and it doesn't really need me. And when the time is right, when the plants are ready, when the season opens up again, we can plant the next one. That's how this method works. You don't have to do everything at once. You start with one guild, you get it right, and then you build from there, even if life gets in the way. Now, what happens when you start combining several of these smaller systems together? Let me show you. I don't know if you can see him, but look at this bumblebee. Anyway, we started this food forest about a year ago, and as you can see, this one is already quite a bit more established. This is 300 square meters, and there were already a couple of roughly 5-year-old fruit trees here. There are around 20 guilds, all connected with clear pathways running through it. Different layers everywhere you look, with fruit trees, shrubs, ground covers, flowers. It's structured but lush, and it started exactly in the same way as the guild that we just walked through. One tree, an intentional system designed around it, then another and another. And over time, these smaller systems start to connect, the canopies start to touch, and it stops looking like a collection of separate plantings and becomes a beautiful and productive food-producing paradise. And right now we are harvesting all sorts of things, from herbs and nasturtiums for salads to taro and sweet potato as we need them. Last season we had a massive crop of pumpkins and yacon. The custard apples are producing, and there's a whole layer of things that we planted for the future, including figs, avocados, mulberries, persimmons, and much more. These are all still establishing, still growing into what they're going to become. And that's kind of how I think about it right now. You're always planting one step ahead. The guild you plant starts feeding you in year 1 with herbs, flowers and annuals. In year 2, the shrubs start producing. In year 3 to 5, the trees start producing slowly. And by the time you're standing in something that looks like this, you've forgotten that it started as one small patch of bare ground. That's the whole method. You don't need to turn the entire property into a food forest in day 1. You just need to start with one well-designed system. Get it in the ground, watch what happens, and build from there. And if you want to see exactly how I design a food forest guild like this one with every decision along the way, make sure to watch this video next, because in that video I walk you through the entire process from choosing a location to finishing the design, so you can do the same thing on your own land. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and happy forest gardening.